All right, everybody, welcome back to the third and final segment of this episode of the Cajun Conservative Show. As advertised, I have a guest on this segment. He's running for Secretary of State. He's a former candidate for state rep and business owner, Mr. Brian Trosclair, correct?
Brandon Trosclair, yes, sir.
Trosclair, yes, sir, yes, sir. How you doing, Mr. Brandon? Welcome to the Cajun Conservative Show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me this morning. I'm doing great this morning. Beautiful day in Louisiana.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. And hopefully it gets a little bit better. You know, hey, we had some rain, a little bit of rain yesterday, but we should be fine with for the rest of the weekend. Yeah,
we needed it at my house. It's been dry, and so it was welcome as long as it wasn't too much. So it was perfect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Mr. Brandon, you made a name for yourself for standing up to the Biden administration with the vaccine mandates. You have some opinions on the Dominion voting machines. That's just a couple of things I looked up on your website and stuff of that nature. But let me know. Go ahead and let me know why you're running for Secretary of State and what is your vision in this spot, because you have run for public office before and you are involved in politics. Why get into the Secretary of State race?
Well, again, thanks for having me. But the reason I have ran for office before, and I'm one of those guys that I'm not going to whine and complain about the problems we have and sit on the sidelines. I'm going to get involved and try to offer solutions to fix our problems that every level of government seems to continually give us. They routinely give us problems. And so in particular on the Secretary of State's office, I think that our elections are terrible. I know that our elections are terrible. We're the only state in the country where you can't physically audit our elections. We don't know who's counting our vote. It's a big problem, and our registration process is deplorable. We have over 700,000 ineligible and inactive voters on our voter rolls. Our voter rolls aren't being cleaned up. So between the Dominion voting machines that we know that they can be and have been manipulated in our registration process, it needs fixing, and it needs fixing bad. I tell people all the time our most sacred right as Americans is our right to vote. But if our voting is inaccurate and being manipulated, what difference does it make?
Now, some people might ask you, Mr. Brandon, because Kyle Ardoin is our current Secretary of State, and I figured I've thought he did a very decent job at this, and nothing to say against Kyle, but because by far Louisiana has come a long way since the 80s and the 90s when we was mostly blue, and they had a lot of things going on with our voting system then. So these things that you come up, is this public record? Because like I said, I've never heard of this before until just now.
Yeah, absolutely. So all this public record, and I'm not sure that our elections have made all kind of progress since the 80s. I can argue that point. But look, our state has changed from blue to red, and I think that's a change in the direction of leadership on the national level. But again, our Secretary of State says we have the sixth best elections according to the Heritage Foundation. Which I intern at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. So I went and look at that study. Yeah, our overall score is a 75. That doesn't seem like too good to me. Now, that's a typical result that we get from government is a 75. But I know if my kids come home and they got a 75 on their report card, that's unacceptable. And so I started breaking down that survey even more. And if you look at the accuracy of our voter rolls, we get an F. If you look at proof of citizenship right here in Louisiana, we get an F. That's unacceptable to me. So I think this has been going on for a long time. In fact, I know it's been going on for a long time, and I don't see the progress there that we have. The claims about Dominion voting machines being a problem, you can go out there and look at the Fox News versus Dominion lawsuit. You have 6 Dominion employees admitting under oath when they're deposed that their machines are continually hacked all the time, that they got bugs, there's alterations all the time. There's also what you call the cast vote record. We know that elections have been altered in many, many states that uses the same exact machine or other forms of Dominion machines. So there's evidence galore if people just get their head out the sand and start doing some research. There's evidence all over the place. I ask people all the time, who counts our vote? I ask clerk of courts. I ask people all the time, who counts our vote? Nobody can answer that. That alone is reason enough that we need to change our system, because nobody can answer who counts our vote. that's a problem.
Yeah, especially your right to vote is one of the most sacred things that you have as a United States citizen, to come out and to voice your opinion. And we need to make sure that's one of the most secure ways, and make sure that we have the I'm trying to find the right words, that we have the liberty to go vote, but at the same time that we know that who we voted for and the outcomes are secure in every way, shape, and form. And that's one of the jobs of Secretary of State, is to make sure that this process of voting is correct and balanced, and we have the right things that need to be done to make sure we have a accurate outcome of the elections.
There needs to be accountability, and there's no accountability or transparency. And that's one thing that we're going to bring back to the State Department, is accountability and transparency. You'll be able to see all the votes. We'll be able to audit the votes in your own precinct. But ultimately, the people of Louisiana are going to count their votes in Louisiana, and not being outsourced somewhere across the country or across the world in a proprietary little black box that nobody can look into that software. That's currently what's counting your vote.
I hear you. All right. So let's go on to your background as a business owner, as a believer of Christ. You've been a business owner down here in Louisiana for a while, and Mr. Brian, you know as well as I do, because I help run my dad's company. Businesses are suffering here in Louisiana. And
that's correct.
We're struggling with high taxes. We're struggling with high insurance rates. I have people that's running for state rep and senators that come here, and they talk about this, how they want to fix it. As the Secretary of State, what is your role into doing that? Because we need every elected official to go ahead and try to minimize the bleeding that we have here in Louisiana. Unfortunately, we're losing people. Where the community side is just a lot of our young and bright minds are leaving the state. As Secretary of State, what can you do to help us? Because I know that a lot of people look at the Secretary of State as just, he looks over the schools, he goes over the voting, but that's really it. But the Secretary of State has a lot more things that they do. So, in your opinion of the stuff that's happening in Louisiana, how does the Secretary of State affect that in bringing us to the right way?
Yeah, so there's three primary functions of the Secretary of State's office, and it's overshadowed, and rightfully so, by our election process. All right, that's 90. I like to describe it. That's 90% of the job right there. The Secretary of State also oversees the operation of 9 museums across the state of Louisiana. You know, the old Governor's Mansion, the Delta Music Museum, things like that. And then they do business commerce. You got the Go app, where you can go and sign up for your LLCs and do your annual filings and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing that the Secretary of State can do is use the platform that is given as a Secretary of State to bring up important issues all around the state. Now, the Secretary of State can't vote for any legislation. They can't introduce legislation on things like that. That's what the state legislature is for. But again, I say all the time that elections have consequences, and manipulated elections have catastrophic consequences. That's how we got critical race theory in our schools. That's how we got boys swimming and competing against girls, and a host of problems. So fixing our elections will fix a lot of things in our state, but also use that platform to talk about other issues that aren't necessarily anything that the Secretary of State can do other than use that platform to raise awareness.
So you be a voice out there saying, look, this I think, I don't have the process. Well, I don't have the authority to go ahead and vote or introduce stuff, but I can give you my opinion, and you probably get people to listen to you on that front.
That's correct.
So now we got another question to ask you, Brian, is your faith. I met you a couple of weeks ago. We were
yes, sir.
We were at the Mike Lindell event at Family Worship Center, and
yes, sir.
Our good friend Josh Rosenstern went ahead and introduced us. He told me about you before that. And so you're a person of faith. You're a Christian, and you're running for
Correct.
public office. And look, I've had a lot of Christians come through here that are politicians. Jason Dojero, David Eden, I believe it's Jamie Pope. We have a lot of Christians that are running for these seats in Louisiana. But the number one question, especially on my front, on my platform, when I'm talking about politics, I have people tell me, Isaac, you shouldn't be talking about politics. You should be just focusing on the gospel. You should use your platform from other things. But politics, you should stay out of politics. But as a Christian, I learned, hey, look, we need to be in this. So, David, how does your faith shape your campaign? How does you being a Christian help this instead? And do you get those questions? Hey, you're Christians, you shouldn't be running for a statewide office.
Yeah, so first and foremost, my faith in Jesus Christ and what he did at the cross shapes everything that I do in every facet of my life. That's first and foremost. The second thing is to say that Christians shouldn't be involved in politics. That's how we got in this mess in the first place. You had 80 million evangelicals didn't go vote in the last election, and look what we got. So that is ridiculous. In my Bible, it says nowhere where Christians shouldn't be involved in the process. It says the exact opposite, that we should be involved in the process. You know, how can we, if Christians aren't involved, we're supposed to leave it up to non-believers and quote unquote bad people to run everything and make all the decisions? Those decisions affect our lives. I am not a guy that's going to sit on the sidelines and watch my parish, my state, or my country get drained and go down the drain and get ruined. I'm not going to do it. So I am going to stand up for what I believe, and I stand firm on my Christian values.
And look, we, like you said, I like how you said that we should stand up. Like I didn't realize there was that many evangelicals that did not go vote. 80 million evangelicals that did not go vote. And look, I can understand the last election. You had Biden on one hand, you had Trump on the other, and you have strong views on each one of them. But sometimes you gotta swallow the bullet and say, listen, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go vote with my conscience, or 9 out of 10, I'm just gonna vote for the lesser of two evils. Because like you said, look what we got here today. Trump would have been a way better, more president and helped the evangelical community than Biden ever will be.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on your second point. I'm gonna disagree with you on your first point. I can't understand why anybody would ever sit out on voting. I can't understand. I can't fathom that at all. And you look, you had two polarizing figures. I get that Trump's polarizing, but you look at it, one platform or one party stands up for Christian values, and the other one has thrown God and Christ out of their party platform, and therefore abortion and everything, all kind of other things that are against our biblical views. So I don't agree with anybody sitting in because a no vote is a vote for the bad guy.
Yeah, and I agree. And I use the figures as for, say, Trump and Biden, but that you can say the left and the right, Republican, Democrat, in that sense. And look, don't get me wrong. I disagree with a lot of things that Trump does, but I've said it it was the second segment of this episode where I went ahead and said, look, if it came down to Biden and Trump, well, I'm going to vote for Trump. You get what I'm saying? And because you have a presidential election that's coming up, you have a lot of people that's about to run. Ron DeSantis, 9 out of 10 is probably going to run for president. You have Nikki Haley, and you have other candidates that are coming up. And that's what the primary system's there for, to look at that for Trump Trump and what are those candidates. But when it comes down to the general election, those two candidates, which one is, like you said, which one is the lesser of two evils? Or I said one lesser of two evil, or what does their party stand for? 'Cause I agree with you. The left I've said it multiple times. The left does not care about Christianity. They don't love the Bible. They don't like God. They don't like freedom of speech. But you have the right that goes ahead and stands up for that. And as a Christian, we should stand for the party that represents our values the most. And the Democrat Party don't do that at all.
That's correct. That is correct. Look, I know people say Trump talks too much and tweets too much and all that stuff, and I get that. But look at his policies. Look at the policies that he put into place. And it was America first, and it was Christianity, Christian values, and look at the policies.
Yeah, and that's as they say, doctrines matters. That's how policy matters when you're making those decisions, and that's what we as Christians need to focus on. Because look, I had people already come up to me and say that as well. Well, Isaac, what if both of them are bad? Well, you got to pray about it and say, Lord, do the one that's gonna vote for the one that's gonna do less to influence what we're doing. You get what I'm saying? It's not, and that's what.
Yeah, my pastor says it all the time. We're electing a president of the United States. We're not electing our pastor. So at the end of the day, you take the policies and the beliefs of the two, and you put them up and align them up against our biblical values, and see which ones align most. Yeah, and that's pretty easy decision. That's pretty easy decision the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. So let's go ahead and cover one more topic. And I talked about this in the second segment, and I'm seeing this right now because we're in the state of Louisiana. We're having a gubernatorial election right now, and I'm seeing Brian, a lot of back and forth right now. You know, when we first got into this season of the gubernatorial election, it was Jeff Landry. Jeff Landry was the ticket. Jeff Landry was this. Jeff Landry, but then you start seeing other candidates come into play. And look, I'm not against people deciding to run. We're working on getting one of the candidates to come on here right now. It's you're starting to see a lot of these people come. And you're already starting to see the advocate. You're starting to see media outlets attacking the candidates. You have, I don't know if you have candidates attacking each other. Yes, which I can't stand. I don't like when other Republicans attack other Republicans on certain things. But we're going into this season of elections with the gubernatorial elections. Do you feel that the process to get nominees into that position with the jumbo primary good for Louisiana or bad for Louisiana? And do you think we have too many Republicans joining into this gubernatorial race, and we should just focus on one and take out the Democrat leadership of this state?
Well, to say that we have too many candidates, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Everybody has their right as a citizen, and they think they can do the best job for Louisiana. They have that right to go and throw their hat in there to run. And I applaud anybody, Republican or Democrat. Running for office is not an easy task. There's people hitting you from all kind of different angles for all kind of different things. And so there's a lot of pressure. So I applaud anybody that's going to run for public office. So as far as the primary, you know, the LA GOP already came out and endorsed Jeff Landry. And they said that was a way to have somewhat of a closed primary. And as far as winning elections, I get that. I understand that. I'm kind of on the fence about open and closed primaries. As a private citizen, I want to be able to vote for whoever I want to vote for. But on the closed primaries, it would make it easier for a Republican to win. And thankfully, it looks like we have several good candidates for governor coming up this year. So it'll be interesting and it'll be exciting for sure.
Well, and look, I agree with you. It is already exciting. I love following the politics of that. What I'm saying is, you know, and this is my personal view on that. You know, look, Sherry Hewitt, Richard Nelson, Jeff Landry, John Schroeder, the top four. There's some good candidates. The problem with I see with this old jumbo primary and this way that we do elections here in Louisiana is that you have let's use the top four. If one of them will start attacking each other or they all start attacking each other, by the time the run-up comes, you're going to have people that are butthurt like they did with Eddie Rispone, and the Democrat's going to walk right in, and we're going to have Wilson go in there because he's the only Democrat candidate with name recognition that will walk in there. And that's what I think. I think us as Republicans, we need to pick our candidate, do it in a orderly fashion, and try to make sure that, hey, look, we can go ahead and change our state. Because, Brandon, we mentioned it earlier. We're at the top of everything bad, and we're at the last of everything good. And that's because of our leadership in this state.
Yep, I agree with you. And, you know, I'll make an argument that the most important election we have coming up is the Secretary of State's office. Because if we're not counting our own votes and our election process is not transparent and accountable, you don't know what you're getting. We're an extremely red state, but we ended up with a Democrat that makes me raise questions. So I'm gonna make an argument that's the most important thing that we got going on is the Secretary of State's office, the Secretary of State's race that we have coming up.
I hear you. And look, this election is important. This election just not important just for Louisiana. It's also we got other issues rising up in the country. So we got a lot going on this year, my brother.
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do.
Brandon, before we sign off, I would like to go ahead and give you the opportunity to tell people who you are, where they can find your website, where they can reach out to you if they have any questions or concerns. Go ahead and give a shout out to your campaign.
Yeah. So again, this is Brandon Trosclair, born and raised right here in Gonzales, Louisiana. I'm a business guy. I'm in the grocery business. I currently have 13 grocery stores across South Louisiana and into Mississippi. I successfully sued Joe Biden against the vaccine mandate, went to the Supreme Court and won, saving anywhere from 80 to 100 million jobs. And I'm fed up with the system, and I have solutions to our election process. You can go and see all that and read all of my policy on letsgobrandon.net. Of course, that's GEAUX, but letsgobrandon.net. And this is Brandon Trosclair running for Secretary of State.
Brandon, thank you, my brother, for coming on. We enjoyed having you, and hope this isn't the only time you come on, man. You got to come on another time.
Hey, I'm welcome. Well, I'll be glad to come back anytime, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, my brother. Thank you for coming on. That was Brian Trosclair. He is running for Secretary of State here in the great state of Louisiana. Go ahead and check out his website, letsgobrandon.net. And give him a consider for Secretary of State. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and sign off for this episode. Thank you for listening to the Cajun Conservative Show. It's an honor and a blessing, as always, to spend time with you. Please remember to hit the subscribe and follow button on the chosen platform that you are on. And just remember that Jesus Christ is King, and he's coming back, and he's coming back soon. So don't be faint of heart, because Jesus has overcome the world. If you want to know Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior, reach out to me. I'll tell you how to make Jesus your Savior and heaven your home. So until next time, be blessed, be encouraged. You have a good one.
And he is the open